Hello, today I am doing the Filmtastic February tag. This is a tag about books and movies. Some of the questions are just about movies, and it's meant to be done in February. This tag was originally created by Duncan from Back Away from the Donkey. So let's get started. The first question is your first memory of seeing a film at the cinema. I think the first movie I saw was Despicable Me 2, and that would have been in 2013. At least that's what I remember. Question number 2, a book about film. It can be behind the scenes, an autobiography, a work of fiction that includes film as a main subject. So we have some examples there, that's helpful. For this, I thought of So Fetched, The Making of Mean Girls, and Why We're Still So Obsessed with It by Jennifer Cation Armstrong. I got this book last year. I'm hoping to get to it this year. It's not very long, so it shouldn't take me a while. I think that nonfiction is typically easier for me to focus on anyway, so I do look forward to getting to this, as this goes over the making of the 2004 Mean Girls film. And I like that movie. I had never seen it until 2023, but when I watched it, I thought it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. It was definitely one of those movies where once I watched it, I was like, oh, that's where that saying is from, or that meme, or whatever. Definitely very iconic, and I didn't have to have watched it 20 years ago in order to think that. I assume this does not go over the 2024 film. Maybe it'll touch on, the movie's legacy and the Broadway play that eventually inspired the new movie, but we'll just have to see. Prompt number 3 says a novelization or tie-in book. For this, I thought of Wonka by Sybil Pounder. That might not be how her name was pronounced. I remember looking it up when I did a review of this book, but I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right now. But anyway, this is a novelization for the 2023 film Wonka, which I saw about a month after it came out in the theater and really enjoyed. I really like the Willy Wonka / Charlie and the Chocolate Factory series, and this movie is no exception. This novelization was fun to read, and, it's ultimately for kids, so it's not very hard to read. The text is pretty big, and a little unique thing about this is a lot of times the words will be, written a certain way to emphasize, we have the word widening, and that's bigger. Sometimes they've got sort of a certain just look to them to match with the word, like huddling. Some of the letters are kind of slanted, so that's fun. And there were some things in this that weren't in the movie. I don't know if that's canon to the movie or maybe from deleted scenes, but I remember having a fun time reading this a few months after I had seen the movie, and it kind of brought me back to that feeling of the movie. Now, when it comes to novelizations of musicals, there is the factor of there not being a song. They might have mentioned singing and dancing, but they don't really even put the lyrics. That's probably tough to figure out how exactly to do that for a book. I remember reading the junior novelization of Frozen when I was in 4th grade when that came out, and I remember it didn't have the songs. It sort of just skipped over that part. I feel like they still could have found a way to put that in there though, but overall I thought this novelization was fun. I hear about some novelizations where they just take a bunch of things out, and I don't feel like that really happened with this. I was satisfied with it. I think it's a good companion to the movie, and anything that helps people, especially kids, to get to read, that's great. Prompt number 4 says, a film about writers or writing. For this, I thought of the documentary Judy Blume Forever. That one came out within the last few years. I actually did a video review of that. I had watched it and then decided I wanted to make a video about it, so I kind of had it playing in the background again while I took some notes on it. So I did a little review of it. It's only a few minutes long. And as someone who has read a lot of Judy Blume's books, and her being one of the authors that helped me fall in love with reading, I enjoyed that. And I would say it's not just about one writer, but there were other guests on it. There were some actors and at least one other author, I think maybe more than one, who talked in the documentary. And I would say that counts. I mean, it's a documentary, but a documentary is a type of film. And I learned some things from it. There was some footage I hadn't seen, some things I learned. So yeah, that was fun. Prompt number 5 is a film that brings back fond memories. Well, one of my favorite movies is the 2014 Disney movie Into the Woods, which is based on a play, but then there was a film adaptation. I don't think it was ever super popular. Then again, it is a musical, not just a musical, but I think it has more singing than the average musical, which some people don't like. Some people don't like musicals in general, but I personally really like them, so I didn't mind. That movie was the only movie I've seen in a theater 3 times. Some I'd seen twice, but this one I saw 3 times in 2 different theaters with 2 different people in total, and I've watched it quite a bit since then. I like to listen to the music from it sometimes. That came out when I was 10, and it was sort of just a pivotal time in my life, right before middle school. I look back at 5th grade fondly, just the things I was enjoying at the time, and so sometimes Into the Woods just makes me think of the present, but sometimes it does make me have nostalgia for that time, and I really liked it because things got a bit harder once I was in middle school, and so just right before then, it was nice to think about. I believe the film came out on Christmas. Didn't see it on Christmas Day, but maybe shortly after that. So yeah, I would say that one. Not only does it bring back fond memories, but I also just still enjoy it. I also just like the vibe of it. For a Disney movie, it's rather dark. I mean, it is PG. It's nothing above that, but it just has that dark blue woods forest thing going on, and I like that too. So I just like a lot of things about that movie. Question number 6 is a film that made you want to read the book. I wanted to have a few answers for this. Most recently would be It. I watched the two 2010s movies. I have not seen the original, and I quite enjoyed them. I didn't absolutely love them, but I thought they were both pretty good, and it definitely makes me curious to read the book now. I still have not read anything by Stephen King. I already had a few of his books on my TBR. I'm not sure which one I'm going to read first, but there are a few others, and now It is on there as well. Of course, I was intimidated by it because it's very long, but I think having seen the movies, I can understand why the book is so long when it goes over like so many characters and there's all this stuff that happens. So I'm thinking I might enjoy getting like the original source material and the full story that way. So I look forward to reading that someday. Maybe some parts of it will be kind of boring and will drag on, but generally I think the reviews of that book are pretty positive. Of course, I'm going to develop my own opinion of it when I see for myself, but I do look forward to reading that someday. So in that case, I saw the movies first. The same also applied to Twilight. I saw those movies for the first time in 2024 and then read the books a few months later. And I liked that even though I had seen the movies and knew what was going to happen, I still enjoyed the books. Part of that is nice because then I know what's going to happen, so there was that. So maybe I was like looking forward to certain parts and seeing how they'd be handled in the books. But yeah, surprisingly, especially with some of the books being really long, I enjoyed them and was fine getting through them. I have read The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner, and that one I didn't like as much. Despite that one being much shorter, it took me much longer to read it. And I have not yet read Midnight Sun or Life and Death. I don't have any plans to read them anytime soon. They are on my TBR, I own them, but I don't know if I'll get to them anytime soon. I am a bit intimidated by those. But as for the main saga, I enjoyed it. I don't have a strict rule to read a book before I watch a movie. I never had like family members that made that a rule. I know some people did, but if it's a way to make you read, then I guess that's good. But yeah, I'm not strict about it. I'll watch the movie first if I want, but sometimes I don't want to do it that way. Question 7 is the opposite of that, a book that made you want to watch the film. I've seen quite a few film adaptations. For this, I'm just going to answer with one book, and that is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. I had read this book, I think at least 3 times before the movie came out, and I was happy when the movie came out. For one, it came out like 50 years after the book came out. I know some people had concerns that it would be modernized. Thankfully it wasn't. I think it was a really good adaptation. I believe the author was involved in the making of it, and that's important. I think when the author's involved in the making of their adaptations, they're usually pretty good, so it's nice that they're able to be a part of that, and I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'm especially glad that it was faithful. So when I heard that that was going to be a movie, I definitely wanted to see it. I didn't see it in the theater. It took me a little while before I watched it, but I did see it, and it was a nice time. Prompt number 8 is films based on a book/story that bear no resemblance to the source. Well, there was just last year that new adaptation of War of the Worlds, which I've never read, but I was hearing a lot about it because I was hearing that it was apparently like really bad, and I decided to watch it, and I honestly did not hate it, but then again, I haven't read the original. Partially it was entertaining just because it was so ridiculous and just like so modernized from what I assume the original is like. I don't know if I will read the original. I thought I would, but I'm not so sure now. But I'm not going to assume that that is what the story is like. But I mean, it was just funny because of like the memes and stuff that came out of it. Now I feel like I haven't heard about it in a while, so it seems it was kind of forgotten. But at the time, people were talking about it online, and it was pretty absurd. So at least it wasn't terribly boring to me. So at least there was something in it. And I didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was actually kind of a decent story about family. Certainly not the best movie I've ever seen, though. So I haven't read that one, but I have read the original Little Mermaid, and I would say the adaptations of that we've seen are not very much like the book. Maybe there is one out there that's more obscure that is actually more like it, but if there is, I haven't heard of it. But like the ones that we know of, like the 1989 Disney animated movie, that one isn't really like it. Or more recently, the 2023 live action movie, both of which I like. The original book is definitely a lot darker, and I don't know if the stories would be as popular or even accepted for children if they were the way the book was. So I'm glad that the movies are different. In some cases, people want the movies to be just like the books, and I'm just like, no, I don't know if I particularly loved the original story of The Little Mermaid. It was an interesting reading experience that I had last year, but yeah, I didn't think it was great literature. It's definitely influential, but yeah, I think I do like the adaptations of that better, and I will say they were different and probably for the better bit more magical and less just disturbing in some ways. Now, both those books are pretty old. I tried to think of more modern examples, but of the adaptations I've seen, I don't think any of them were that far removed from their original source. I know that there can be more modern adaptations that are very different, but in my experience, it's just been, from what I've seen, with older books. The ninth prompt says to recommend 5 films, and I had some trouble thinking of these because, like I said, musicals, for example, are not for everyone. A lot of things I just like because they're for me, and I don't necessarily want to force that on everyone else, but just recommending isn't really forcing. But I did look and see if there were any movies where I thought maybe a lot of people could benefit from them. They've got, like, good messages, good ideas, and I do think there were some there. I really liked Inside Out too. I think that had some really good messages. It's very easy to just say be yourself, but I think this movie really shows examples of what that truly means, accepting all parts of yourself. And I just really liked the first Inside Out. I was very pleased with the second one. So yeah, I really like that series. I feel like the Pixar movie Onward is very good too. That one came out in March 2020. It was not good timing for the movie, and I think it didn't really get the recognition it deserved because of the time it came out. If that hadn't happened, then I think maybe it would have been more liked. I don't know if it would have become one of, like, the Pixar classics. Like, I don't expect it to be on the same level as Toy Story, no matter the circumstances of its release, but I thought it was a good movie. I really liked it. I think it has some good messages, some good ideas. I've only watched it once, but I definitely want to watch it again. I've been wanting to, but I just don't watch a lot of movies at the moment. But I was watching a lot in, like, early 2024. So I think Onward is pretty good. Definitely an underrated Pixar movie. I quite like the movie Swiss Army Man as well. And I feel like that's not super popular. I mean, some people know about it, but I don't hear about it a lot. I don't know if it's for everyone, but again, I do think it has some good ideas. It's pretty weird, but it is definitely unique, which I know is something people want to see more of in movies. They want to see more originality, and I definitely think that that is there. It may not be everyone's thing, but I enjoyed it. I've seen that one at least 2 or 3 times, and I would also consider it one of my favorites. I think it has some profound stuff about being human in an interesting and really weird way. That's how it's presented. So those were the only ones I could really think of. I know that's not 5, but I just didn't really know which other ones to say. I mean, I could just recommend a movie because I think it's an entertaining movie, but it's not going to be the same for everyone. But there are those, but I'm not begging everyone to watch those movies. And then prompt number 10 is tag people. Like I said, whoever wants to do this. It's kind of late in February when you'll be seeing this, so if you want to save it for next year, I just gave you a video idea for next year, so there's that. So thank you for watching.